very warm welcome to Bharata First. You're watching Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira. First, let me inform you about Bharata First's Knowledge Center, an initiative that will help each one of you and transform the way you learn. It will not only help you in your competitive exams journey, but it will also ensure that you're a better Bharatiya and prepare you for life itself. You can go to our website kc.bharatafirst.com for more details. Register now and avail the limited period early bird discounts. Once again, kc.bharatafirst.com is where you need to go and register now. Since you're here, I would like to thank you for your continued support. For those of you who haven't already subscribed, please like the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and then all notifications. Share the content as well so that more people get to know about Bharata First. Do follow our social media handles for all the latest updates, and you can also subscribe to our newsletter to get some incisive content. The Bharata First team runs a daily Big Picture quiz. Please do participate by going through the description in Big Picture videos. Here are the UPI IDs for those of you who would like to come forward and contribute. A small contribution that you make will be a giant leap for us to keep bringing you this content. So do continue to show your love and support because I need it now more so than ever. In case you have some trouble with UPI IDs, you may click on the payment link in the description of this video and go through the steps. All this information along with some must-see recommendations are in the description of this video. Please go through it. And now on to the discussion. Iran's hardline judiciary chief Ibrahim Raisi won the country's presidential election in a landslide victory on Saturday, propelling the supreme leader's protege into Tehran's highest civilian position in a vote that appeared to see the lowest turnout in the Islamic Republic's history. His candidacy and the sense the election served more as a coronation for him sparked widespread apathy among eligible voters in the Islamic Republic, which has held up turnout as a sign of support for the theocracy since its 1979 Islamic revolution. Some, including former hardline President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, called for a boycott. Raisi would be the first serving Iranian president sanctioned by the US government even before entering office over his involvement in the mass execution of political prisoners in 1988, as well as his time as the head of Iran's internationally criticized judiciary, one of the world's top executioners. In this edition of Big Picture, we will analyze the implications of the election of Ibrahim Raisi as the president of Iran. Joining me on the program today are Dr. Amalendu Mishra, Department of Politics, Lancaster University, UK; Major General Ashwini Sivach, retired strategic analyst; and KV Prasad, senior journalist. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of Big Picture. KV Prasad, let me start the program with you first. Let's first try and understand and analyze the elections in Iran. What does it mean? And we've seen a hardliner now coming to power. And there were several issues really with regards to the election itself. There were Iranians were upset with the fact that the supreme leader intervened at some point in time. How would you look back at the elections?
Well, I think from the time the elections were declared and the kind of run-up of the candidatures, it was very clear that the supreme leader's intervention was something that was consistent and not unusual, considering the fact that supreme leader's words is the last word in Iran ever since, since 1979, as it has evolved. That has been the case. In this case too, we've read reports about how the field itself was narrowed down. The people who were moderates would not be in a position to contest. And the eventual proof, if one would say, of what you refer to is the kind of response to the voting itself. 48.8% is what we read, so less than 50%. Some reports said the poll timing was extended by 2 hours to encourage people to come out and vote. Obviously, the enthusiasm was not there for a variety of reasons, including the fact that the hardliner was being favored, I think, after the current incumbent ends his term in August. So these were the factors. And plus, let us not forget the two big issues Iranians continue to face, which probably reflects in the voting patterns, is the issue of economy, the issue of unemployment, the threat of sanctions that has been on since 28. Rather, the sanctions itself, uh, out the window of hope and opportunity is Joe Biden coming to US and talking of P5-1 negotiations reopening in some form and fashion. But that too is a very narrow window. I think we can talk as we go along.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we'll come back to that. We'll address that issue at length as well. You know, where does this leave Iran and the United States? But General, let me bring you in. What does all of this mean as far as Iran is concerned? And you know, where is Iran headed really with ensuring that a hardliner has been elected to the post of president?
Frank, it's a very interesting. See, what happened is the president who is present there, Hassan Rouhani, he's a moderate, and he's the one which successful in having this nuclear deal in 2015 with 6 major powers. And that's a different thing. The US has come out of it in 2018. Now they are trying to revive it again in Vienna. As on today, the meeting is going on. No, as far as the election have taken place, why it is something which the whole world is watching, that the president election has now become very important in Iran, for the reason being that the supreme leader and also the president, if both are hardliner, then it makes a very strong impact in the world polity. As on today, Hassan Rouhani was a moderator. Ali Ayatollah Khamenei was slightly hardliner. But the way the election have taken place, Ibrahim Raisi has now become the president. He will be taking over in August. He has won the election. Remember last time he fought the election against Hassan Rouhani and he lost it. Whereas this time he was favored. Those contestants who were moderator, they were disbanded from fighting the election. So it was a one-sided contest, and it was Ayatollah Ali Khamenei who has basically influenced for his victory. And it is also known that if something happened to Ayatollah Ali Khamenei as a supreme leader, that Ibrahim Raisi is the one who will take over. Now that is also a strong rumor in Iran. Now the point which comes is what are the implications comes now in the Iran if Ibrahim Raisi has taken over the president. See, basically the president is looking after the economy and the internal affair. The external affair as well as the nuclear deal is still looked by the supreme commander. So as far as this nuclear deal, which is called a joint comprehensive plan for action, will continue, the talks will continue, because the economic sanctions are crippling the economy of Iran. They are really struggling and they want to come out of it. So this will continue, but what will impact is that the internal economy is in a bad state. As far as Iran is concerned, the inflation rate is very high. The unemployment of the youth is quite a bit. They want to come out. In fact, the present, president also not able to succeed in that because there were sanctions imposed by the US. But the one which will come now will have a task cut out for him. Now, the reason 2-3 factor we stand against Ibrahim Raisi is that people do not like him that much, because one is in 1988 he was involved in executing number of political prisoners, and also in 2009 in suppressing the movement of the students. So he is not very popular, but the way things have been orchestrated, he won the election. The election, as you very clearly brought by Mr. Prasad also, the voting pattern was more less than 50%. 28 million people voted, 18 million people gave him vote, more than 60%. But to me, it looks like that it was more mainly stage managed for his victory. But what will happen now is the politics of Iran will slightly change. The supreme leader will be also hardliner, and the president will be also hardliner. This will impact the investors who have to come to Iran. Iran economy is in bad state. Now they will think 10 times to invest in Iran. That is a mute question, whether they will like to commit when both of them are hardliner. So this is what, the situation will now unfold as to how things will happen in August thereafter. But as on today, it looks very grim that the economy of the Iran will come out of the situation which are at present, where the inflation is very high, and unemployment is the highest.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me take the discussion forward now with Amalindu Mishra. As far as the region itself is concerned, what does this mean? Because there are several different dynamics at play when you look at this particular region. There is Israel, there is Iran, and there is their theater of play as well. So the change in presidentship, how is it going to change matters in the region, Amalindu?
I was looking at the responses of different regional powers as well as the international powers, and who has said what. Before coming here, I thought let me sort of see what is the language being used by different ones. So we can break them into three parts. One which has been congratulatory, very friendly. The second one, which is very critical. And the third one is the moderate one. So the congratulatory ones have come from the usual suspects. They are Turkey, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Hamas, Russia, Syria, and so on and so forth. And the critical ones have come from Israel, which is very emphatic that what is happening is a grave problem for Middle Eastern peace and also for the state of Israel. So let me sort of highlight it for the viewers that Iran has got an official policy that is the destruction of the state of Israel. It does not officially recognize the state of Israel, but it wants its elimination. So that becomes problematic for the Israelis, and that has been the only critical response. So when it comes to United States, which is sitting on the fence, especially given the fact that Biden administration is trying to have a new deal with the regime in Tehran, they have been somewhat moderate in their response. And Biden's administration's argument has been that it is a great loss for the Iranian public in the sense that they were not given the choice to elect the candidate of their choice, a reformist perhaps. So these are the three sets of responses that we have seen from the regional powers and the international powers. But there is something else that I would like to highlight here that has not been talked about. We're all talking about the victory of Sayyid Ibrahim Raisi, but that is not exactly his victory. It is the victory of the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, because he has been trying to follow a new kind of framework for Iran ever since the Iranian Revolution of 1979. He's taking over from 1989. There are 5 different plans that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has, which goes back to what was proposed by Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, which established the Islamic Republic of Iran in 1979. What are those 5 points? Number one, an Islamic revolution. They had that in 1979, followed by the establishment of an Islamic regime that we have seen the Ayatollahs controlling everything. And then that has to be followed by what you may call an Islamic regime and a government. So the Islamic government was something that was eluding Ali Khamenei since 1989. He almost came to getting that when President Ahmadinejad was in power, but there are differences, there are falling out, for which the regime was not completely in tune with what the government wanted. But now, for the first time, we have a collusion between the regime and the government, which is coming to power come August this year. So it has come to full circle, and the other 2 parts of that particular revolutionary strategy has to do with establishment of a complete Islamic society, homogeneous Islamic society, and finally, it has to do with a posture, Iranian posture, which is going to undermine every other opposition, a civilizational force. That is exactly what the current Islamic regime of Khamenei wants, and that is what is going to be proposed in the context of the new president, Ibrahim Raisi. So that is how we have to see.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very well brought out there, Dr. Misra. Let me take the points forward now, and especially about the whole issue of Iran and the United States. There is no doubt, KV Prasad, that the sanctions of the United States and others have really hit Iran hard with the new administration in the United States, and now with Iran too seeing a new president. How is this going to play out between Iran and the United States? What's likely to happen on that front?
So this is going to be one of the most interesting developments that we need to watch. Remember, whenever the Republicans were in power, if you all remember, one of the famous speeches which President Bush made in India, of course, the three axes of evil, in which he does mention of Iran in particular. Similarly, then comes 2018 Trump. They pulled out of the JCPO, and then we've seen what happened. The sanctions came back. So all these are issues that we need to look at. Now we have a very small window on the nuclear deal, the P5+1 thing. Before August, they can clinch the deal. Will it go through? Because as Mr. Swatch had mentioned, the talks are on. But will the new president take it forward, even if it was to be done by the outgoing regime? So these are factors will still hang in air. The flip side of it is the sanctions issue. How is Iran going to come out of this? Because the kind of figures that were mentioned, probably 10% unemployment rate, and the kind of inflations that are raging, economies that are crippling, no banking systems are also facing decline. So there are very, very grave challenges that the people have to face. But the larger issue, as Professor has mentioned, those are the things, will that continue to guide Iran? So vis-a-vis America, there was a talk when President Obama was there that the Americans, investors, and the investment lobby wanted to reopen Iran so that the money could flow into that region and they could kickstart the economy by investments. That was one of the arguments why the whole nuclear deal and everything went through. Of course, there is nothing substantially followed after that, because 3 years is too short a period for investors to go back and put the pie in. So I think this is going to be a little more difficult this time. Joe Biden has made his actions clear, but I think how are the Iranians going to take it forward? That's going to be crucial here.
Absolutely, absolutely. General, coming back to you now, what does this mean for India, and how is this going to play out as far as India-Iran ties are concerned?
See, Frank, first of all, what is more important to India is that what the nuclear deal, if it goes through, whether the President Hassan Rouhani there or Ibrahim Raisi will come, that will a game changer. What has happened is after the restriction which have been imposed by US, we have stopped taking the oil from Iran, and we are now taking from other sources, which is becoming very costly. The oil from Iran was very cheap, and also it had an insurance factor inbuilt. So we are looking for it that sanctions should be removed by all these 5+1, and then we can start it. And our Chabahar project is also going very slow. We want it to continue that. We are trying to put across this point to even Biden administration that Chabahar port is not only useful for India, it is useful even for America to bypass Pakistan to go to Afghanistan, Central Asian state, and then connect it with North-South transport corridor. So these two things are linked with whatever the sanction have been imposed by the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Until this nuclear deal again is revived, we will have a problem. In any way, as far as India is concerned, India and Iran are having a very good relation from ages, and Iran has been a good friend. But Iran felt it slightly bad when the Donald Trump administration has put restriction. We followed that. China did not follow. China kept on taking oil from Iran, but we made that import from Iran almost zero. It is only that Chabahar was outside the purview of the sanction, and that's why the war continued. So now we are only waiting that these sanctions should be removed so that we can start taking the oil, which will be much cheaper than what we are taking. The second issue which is coming now, very important, is that US is going to exit from Afghanistan. Now the China is coming in a big way to Afghanistan. Through Afghanistan, it will come to Iran. It wants its BRI project to also come to Iran. If you remember that the moment this Ibrahim Raisi has won the election, the first two countries which has congratulated are Russia and the China. No, because their interest is there. Now the whole world order is changing. The equation will change after the Americans exit from Afghanistan. So China is showing a lot of interest. China wants to now make a Belt Road initiative also in Iran through Afghanistan. So it will also have a lot of dynamics in future time when Americans will completely exit from Afghanistan. As far as India is concerned, we will like to maintain good relation with the present establishment of Hassan Rouhani. so will be Ibrahim Raisi. I don't think a much difference is going to come. We only hope and pray that the sanctions are removed by this P+5+1, so that our oil import starts, and also we can do a business as usual with Iran, and our Chabar project goes into a sort of fifth gear. As on today, the project is going slow. If you remember, even the railway line which was there from Chabar till the border of Afghanistan was taken out from India, and they built it there themselves. We are very keen that Chabar project should go the way we want, and it can only happen if the sanction imposed on Iran are reduced to some extent. I suppose that may happen, and that will be a good sign for India, Frank.
Absolutely. Amalinder Mishra, coming back to you now, how is this going to play out really as far as the Islamic world is concerned? Because we've seen that Saudi Arabia is moving on or moving away from hardline Islamization. They're moving away from Wahhabism, and the MBS is doing several things in Saudi Arabia to ensure that this happens. On the other hand, we've seen that Iran is becoming more and more hardline. So, is there a game being played as far as the supremacy of the Islamic world is concerned too?
What Iran has done all these years is that it has established its network among the dissidents across the Islamic world. Turkey is one, Syria is another, part of Iraq is another story, in Afghanistan as well, and in Saudi Arabia too, where there is a 10% population is Shia. So the Islamic world is recognizing the very fact that they simply cannot ignore the fact that Iran is a powerhouse. Iran is a Shia powerhouse. Whatever may have been the differences between the Shia Islam and Sunni Islam has to recognize that there is a legitimate, rightful place for Shia Islam in the Islamic world. And that reckoning has come from, as you have rightly pointed out, from the de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia. And that is the reason why there has been a certain degree of rapprochement from Saudi Arabia in recent years, recent months rather, suggesting that we recognize Iran's aspirations. As I was trying to tell you earlier, the fifth perspective or the fifth plan of Islamic Republic of Iran is to establish it as a civilizational force. That is exactly what Iran is trying to do now. It is trying to do it militarily, through its military adventurism in Yemen, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Palestinian territory in Gaza, and rest of the world. So what we are going to witness is that the reckoning of the Islamic world to see that they simply cannot delegitimize, they simply cannot call Shia Islam as illegitimate. I was looking at the response of the neighbor, Pakistan's congratulatory note to the new president. And Prime Minister Imran Khan is suggesting that we are fraternal, our fraternal relationship. Let's not forget that Pakistan is a very close ally of Saudi Arabia. Pakistan is a Sunni state, and Saudi Arabia and Iran don't see eye to eye with each other. But in spite of that, here is Imran Khan reaching out to the new regime and saying that we are kind of involved in a fraternal relationship. So is the case with United Arab Emirates, which is engaging in that rapprochement that I mentioned earlier, and Turkey. What we are witnessing is that Saudi Arabia is not only moderating itself, but Saudi Arabia is also losing its preeminence thanks to the rise of Iran. So that at some point or the other, the Islamic countries are going to take stock of the situation, take stock of the scenario, and then accept Iran as an equal partner. Now, coming back to the new president, he is there for the long haul. He's only 60 years old, and the current Supreme Imam is 82, if I'm not mistaken. So, what the plan here is not only to have Mr. Raisi as the president for the next 4 years, but when the current holy Ayatollah Imam passes away or dies or whatever, he takes over that position. It will be exactly what we are witnessing in Russia under Putin, or what we are witnessing in China under Xi Jinping. So that is what is going to happen in Iran for the next 20 to 25 years at least. We are going to have this hardline position whereby Iran is going to be a massive force to reckon with. And to go back to the nuclear deal and all the rest of it, Iran doesn't care. it has reached at that particular level whereby it doesn't have to worry about what the international community says or doesn't say. And we have seen it. It has managed to corner China and Russia as its friends. So even if the rest of the world is united against it, it cannot worry about because the finances are going to come from China and Russia. As the general was talking to us earlier about, $400 billion investment promise has already been made by Chinese president to Iran, and that is going to be undertaken in the coming years. So Iran can't be bothered. So it is going to be a massive power, and it is going to divide, or it is going to come in a way the Islamic tension that we have seen all these years.
Absolutely. All right, gentlemen, it's time to get quick closing comments now from all my panelists with the best way forward, starting first with you, KV Prasad.
Well, I think as what we've just heard among the members of the panel, this is going to be an interesting way in which the post world order, which people are talking post-COVID world order, and where does Iran find itself in this whole in this area? If China, Russia, Iran, China, Russia, Afghanistan, I mean, this is what we are seeing in the region closest to us. So how does India look at the whole development? Considering the fact that we also have a strategic relationship with Iran and a wide encompassing equation, which engagement across diverse fields. Our NSAs meet, we have joint commission meetings, we have the cultural commissions that meet so regularly, and the official level engagements right up to the prime minister's visits. So I think this is something which we need to wait and watch how it goes forward, because India has interest not just, of course, close to its neighborhood, extending to the West Asia. If West Asia equations, as Professor has been mentioning, if that changes in the Islamic world, how does India, which has a lot of interest in West Asia, also in terms of its expatriate population out there, how are we going to balance this Shia-Sunni Islamic tug of war for power? So I think that's where I'll leave it at that.
Absolutely. General?
Yeah, Frank, see, there is a contest of supremacy as far as the Muslim world is concerned, one headed by Saudi Arabia and one headed by Iran. There is no doubt both are now enemy to consider itself more enemy to each other than Israel. Today, Israel having the best of the relation with the Muslim world. It is Iran versus other Muslim world. But Iran has got a friend in Turkey, and Iran is now challenging the hegemony of Saudi Arabia. So they will be two powerhouses which are there, which are likely to now remain there for some time to come. As far as the Muslim world is concerned, now as far as America is concerned, America will take care of their own interests. Now, Joe Biden administration is trying to understand that they have come in Middle East, West Asia. They also want to mend their ways with Iran. Iran also need America. Iran, whatever you may say that it will able to get support from China or Russia, but they themselves are not in the best of the form to help, especially Russia. So they want this economic sanction to be removed. That they are trying their best. If the economic sanctions are removed, this is not only good for Iran, it will also be good for the complete region and especially for India. So I suppose that they are looking for it, and that I agree on one thing, that today, as far as Iran is concerned, they have enriched uranium. Till now, they have not done so far to an extent that it is a weapon grade, but they have reached to that state, and therefore, possibly, America is going to put restriction on basically that grading of weapon, grading of uranium to the weapons grade. But some sort of sanction may be removed. And if the sanctions are removed in Iran, it is going to impact positively not only Iran, also the region, and India will substantially gain it, because then we will able to deal with them, especially taking the oil from Iran, where we are taking now from other country, which is hurting our economy, because it is almost 60% costlier than what we were getting from Iran. And also our interest in Chabar, that we want the development of Chabar port to take place faster than what it is taking place on ground as on today, Frank.
Absolutely. And Amlinder Mishra, close the show for us with your quick concluding remarks.
Well, first of all, we have to remember that Iran is a civilizational state, and it is not going to give up that easily. And what we have seen is that the sanctions don't work. They are there, and they are bearing it, and they will continue with that. So what is the alternative here? The alternative is to make friends. The alternative is to moderate our own position with the hope that they are going to moderate their own position as well. We simply cannot sway Iran, because whenever we try to do that, it is going to find another ally. And given the fact that the international relations is so complex now, it is a kind of multipolar world, no power is going to dominate, neither China or United States or Iran. So it is in the best interest of the international community as well as the regional powers to soften their stand. If we can generate goodwill among the Iranian people, if we make them moderate, so whatever hardline position that is there at the top is going to be undermined in the long run. And that should be the policy proposition from the international community as the best way forward. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, gentlemen, we'll have to leave to that. Thank you so much for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. So, what's coming out of this discussion is that Raisi's election is a planned move towards hardline politics in Iran. He is in it for the long haul, and all indications right now point towards him being the successor to the supreme leader. The US sanctions have hurt Iran but has also pushed Tehran closer to Russia and China. Iran has been resilient and has sent out a strong message that it can't be subdued. As America looks out for its own interest and pulls out of the region, nations in West Asia are getting ready to sort out their own issues. The election of a new president in Iran is unlikely to have too much of an impact on ties with India. What we are concerned about is the lifting of sanctions, as that will significantly improve ties with Tehran and will benefit our own interests in the region. We also need to strike a balance between the Shia Sunni tug of war and look out for our own interest. Well, before I go, let me inform you about Bharata First Knowledge Center, an initiative that will help each one of you transform the way you learn. You can go to our website kc.bharatafirst.com for more details. The Knowledge Center will not only help you in your competitive exams journey, but it will prepare you for life itself and make you a better Bharatiya. It's a whole new learning experience that you've not witnessed before. So please go to kc.bharatafirst.com and take a look at all the details. Register now and avail the limited period early bird offer. Well, thank you once again for your continued support. For those of you who haven't already subscribed, please like the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and then all notifications. Share the content as well so that more people get to know about Bharata First. Do follow our social media handles for all the latest updates, and you can also subscribe to our newsletter to get some incisive content. The Bharata First team runs a daily Big Picture quiz. Please do participate by going through the description in Big Picture videos. Here are the UPI IDs for those of you who would like to come forward and contribute. A small contribution that you make will be a giant leap for us to keep bringing you this content. So do continue to show your love and support. I need it now more so than ever. In case you have trouble with the UPI IDs, you may click on the payment link in the description below and follow the steps. All this information along with some must-see recommendations are in the description of this video. Please go through it. That's it from me. See you again next time.